Ladies and gentlemen, my first word is the most important one. Welcome. Enjoy the conference. It will be a super interesting conference. We have such a selected speakers, which are really knowledgeable and which are good speakers moreover. So when you come out of here, you will not be the same persons. There will be thought-provoking discussions. This being said, I may present myself. My name is Hermann Beitan. I'm the new chairman of LuxFlag. LuxFlag, you know, LuxFlag is Luxembourg Financial Labeling Agency. I insist on this. This is our core business. This is what we are doing. LuxFlag is an essential part of the Luxembourg ecosystem because investment funds and finance is not necessarily completely neutral. It can achieve good things or not so good things. And our task is to help to achieve good things, to help humanity to make a better world. And even though Luxembourg is small as a country, it is big as a financial center, and therefore Luxembourg must show the way about sustainable finance and the goods about it. Obviously, LuxFlag has the depth and all the knowledge to organize such a conference. It's a huge conference, it's a good conference, it's a 2-day conference. It's all organized by LuxFlag itself. Really fantastic, that's an achievement, and I really congratulate all the persons of LuxFlag for this. What about the activity of LuxFlag? As I said, it is about fostering a better world by granting labels. For this, for granting labels, you need as well a very good team, because labels, and this is what labels are about, it's really outsourced compliance, outsourced verification. It's not that you sit there and then you say, a label, here we go. There is a whole process behind, meaning there are people, procedures, etc., etc. All this needs to be managed. Who is managing this? It is Isabelle Della. And Isabelle does a fantastic job. I already knew Isabelle when she was a client of mine, when she was running investment funds, and I already had a very, very good souvenirs of this time. Now I met her again, and I must say, wow, what has been achieved with respect to LuxFlag really is good, which is for me the opportunity to hand over to Isabelle. Thank you.
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Hermann, for your introduction. Hermann, let me also take a moment to congratulate you on your appointment as our new chairman. Your experience and vision are already proving invaluable, and we are delighted to embark on this next chapter with you guiding LuxFlag. So it is a true pleasure to welcome you all to the 7th edition of the LuxFlag Sustainable Investment Week. 7 is usually considered a lucky number, and I'm sure this edition will not break that rule. I'm Isabelle Delas, Chief Executive Officer of LuxFlag, and I'm delighted to see so many familiar faces and many new ones joining us here in Luxembourg. Dear LuxFlag community, I'm sure you will agree with me, sustainable finance stands today at a crossroads. The stakes are higher than ever. Climate risk, biodiversity loss. Not a day goes without people talking about it. What's next? Social inequalities. And today's technological disruption. They are all reshaping markets at unprecedented speed. In this context, credibility and accountability are no longer optional. They are decisive. This is why reputable labels such as ours matter. They give investor and society confidence that capital is flowing to where it truly delivers positive impact. Therefore, at LuxFlag, we have taken important steps to strengthen our role and meet the sector's evolving needs. Over the past year, we have listened carefully, yes, we do so, to market feedback and refine our approach. The sustainable finance industry is maturing, and we expect the demand for independent and credible labels to be greater than ever. This is why we have restructured our label portfolio from 8 individual labels into 3 clear categories. Impact label, certified by LuxFlag, ESG label, certified by LuxFlag, and most recently, the launch of the new transition label, certified by LuxFlag. These 3 categories bring together our well-known individual labels that you see below on that slide. So this transformation serves 3 core objectives: reinforcing our role as a global labeling agency, which is the first one. Second, simplifying our offer for clarity and recognition, and positioning LuxFlag's label as globally applicable and future-oriented. This is the third objective. In parallel, we have updated our ESG labels criteria to ensure they remain robust, relevant, and aligned with evolving best practices. These initiatives are more than internal milestones. They are a signal of our continued dedication to quality, transparency, and impact. And because identity matters, we have also refreshed our logo tagline from supporting sustainable finance to global labeling agency. You can see that on screen. While modest in appearance, this shift underlines our international reach and strengthens how we communicate our value to a global audience. All of this feeds directly into why we are here today. Over the next 2 afternoons, you will engage with a thought-provoking agenda that reflects the reality of sustainable finance in 2025 and beyond. Together, we'll explore how policy, regulation, innovation, and investment strategies intersect from climate litigation risk to natural capital investing, from private debt impact to the role of space technologies in sustainable finance. These conversations are not only about understanding trends, they are about shaping the future, our future. As we mitigate these complex topics and we navigate them, one principle remains clear. Our shared goals require shared action. So let me call on you here today. Over the next 2 days, find the means for effective collaboration and innovation across sectors, geography, and disciplines if we are to finance a just and lasting transition. We hope these events inspire you to continue driving forward with that same conviction to make finance a genuine driver of sustainability. Now it comes to thanks everyone and to welcome as well our guest, Thomas Schoos from the Ministry of Environment, Biodiversity and Climate. But I would like to take a moment to thank everyone who has made this event possible. Our partners, sponsors, and guest speakers who bring their expertise and insights, our event supporters and media partners who amplify the reach and impact of our work, and you, our guests, some of whom have traveled from across Europe and beyond to join us. Let me also have a special thank you for our volunteers from the University of Luxembourg and the students at the welcome desk, whose enthusiasm and smiles have helped create a welcoming environment for everyone. And finally, my deepest thanks to my team at LuxFlag for your passion, professionalism, and efforts that will make this 7th edition a success. Do you also know that this event is special for something else? Maybe not. But for the 3rd year, the LSAW is certified as a green business event by the Luxembourg Ministry of Economy's General Directorate for Tourism. This recognition underscores our commitment to minimizing our environmental impact while setting an example for sustainable event management. It is now my pleasure to introduce our maître de cérémonie for today, a familiar name in the world of sustainable finance, Oriane Schoenbrot. Oriane bridges diplomacy, finance, and governance from the UN and the European Parliament to Big Four boardrooms and family offices. She is the co-founder of Label Air, a sustainable due diligence and governance platform now relaunched to advise boards and investors on resilience and sustainable finance. Recognized among Europe's top 30 ESG and green tech leaders, she brings a transatlantic perspective linking US governance rigor with European sustainable finance depth. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Oriane.
Thank you, Isabelle. It was great. So I have to tell you that Isabelle, thank you very much. She's sometimes a bit scared to talk in public, but you were amazing, Isabelle. And so I will begin with a bit boring things. So the housekeeping rules. So 30 seconds, so just keep your mobile phone on silent, just not talk to your neighbor. We have a meeting room upstairs if you want to walk and talk with someone or have a little meeting. So there will be 2 coffee breaks. So we'll be, this afternoon we'll have around 9 sessions, free, so, and interrupted by two coffee break. And so we have Viola behind there that you can, like, come here, Viola, like everyone can identify you. And if you have any logistical question, Viola is there. So the restroom are on the on the left. Did I forget something, Viola? No. And don't forget, if you publish something on LinkedIn, X, any social media, to use the hashtag LSIW 2025. So for Luxembourg Sustainable Investment Week 2025. So if you have an issue, you ask us, but that would be great to rely on this hashtag on the social media. So now that was the boring part. Let's go to the fun part, because I have someone really special to introduce. Is Thomas Schoos. And I'm really happy, Thomas, to introduce you today, because I read also a bit about you yesterday. And actually, Thomas are really a serious name. So he's a general director of international, European, internal affairs at the Minister of Climate, Environment, and blah, blah, blah. But actually, Thomas is much more than that. he lived in Berlin. He grew up in Luxembourg, lived in Berlin, in Istanbul, but he's much more than a policy maker. He's really someone who has also a communication background and who is able to really bring together sustainable finance with storytelling. And also, I think, and what it's really important to know about Thomas is he wrote a book for children. Wow, it's the name of the book, and explaining to children Luxembourg and to attract children to Luxembourg, understanding Luxembourg. And I'm sure that Thomas will really use his talent for communication and storytelling to tell us how Luxembourg will shape sustainable finance, because as Isabelle mentioned, we are a bit on the crossroad, and also how sustainable finance is still there. Let's see after these 2 days, we still think, I think that we are there, that is still there, and how it will shape also the Luxembourg competitiveness. So the floor is yours, Thomas.
Hello, everyone. What an introduction. Wow, I think that's the best one I ever had. So thank you, Oriane, for that. It's true, all of it. A very complicated title that I don't care very much about. But I'm guilty as charged with children's books and other activities, and being a PR guy at some point in my life as well. But that's not why I'm here. Just to let you know, we have in parallel, we have a European Environment Council going on in Kirchberg, and so that's why my minister can't be here also today, but we want to make a point of being here and me being here, because it's important to us. And to be honest, when you're a progressive thinker, and your basis is ecology and environmentalism, you know, it can be quite depressing to discuss in this black and white manner that we're seeing at the moment. But so I'm glad I'm here to meet this crowd and to say a few words to you, and it's a great pleasure for us as the ministry. I think if you imagine, you know, the schoolyard, international schoolyard of sustainable finance, Lux Flag wouldn't be the bragging type. You know, Lux Flag does a lot of good work discreetly and effectively, and that's also how it's a very Luxembourgish thing in a way to do that. But it does have bragging rights, because I think it's fair to say that Lux Flag has a long history of making history in sustainable finance. From pioneering the microfinance label, now almost 20 years ago in 2006, and then all the way forward to today, with Lux Flag being the only sustainable finance labeling agency in Europe that has multiple labels with distinct sustainability focuses. That's unique, and that's very, very useful, and we hear it across the world. I was in Korea not long ago, where the GCF, it came up in a discussion of the GCF, look to Luxembourg, they have a labeling agency that's actually doing, you know, the granular work in bringing more transparency and investor confidence to the center, to the financial center. But one of the most important contributions of Lux Flag is through events like this, bringing leaders together to present the latest thinking, the most innovative products, and crucially, to discuss and exchange on what one day will no longer be called sustainable finance, but just finance. My colleagues at the ministry, they tell me that they've rarely seen an audience as engaged as the one attending Lux Flag's Sustainable Investment Week. So I'm sure all of you will continue that trend with your insightful questions and comments over the next 2 days. And so to all the speakers and panelists, you're now officially warned. But before the program starts, I wanted to leave you with some thoughts on the situation we find ourselves in today. Meeting the moment, as the Americans would say. So let's meet the moment for a second. This year marks 10 years since the landmark Paris Agreement at COP21. And it's also 10 years since the SDGs and the Agenda 2030 were agreed by leaders from all over the world in New York. Who of us would have imagined the world of today 10 years ago? There's one of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein saying that, and I misquote him, I'm sure, but it's along the lines of saying, people always massively overestimate the 2 next years. They massively underestimate the next 10 years. And that goes both ways, right? It can be a force for good, and it can also be quite shocking how much can happen in 10 years. So here we are. Now is now. Now is today. And meeting the moment today is defined by somewhat darker clouds. Geopolitics, I think we talk around our family tables about this all the time. Defense spending, ESG, backlash, the competitiveness, neurosis, scare. Are we competitive, are we not? Omnibus simplification across Brussels. What does this mean for sustainable finance as a whole, for our path in Luxembourg, for all of us in this room? The backlash, the calls for simplification, well, it means that what was considered a side issue just a few years ago, sustainability, is now mainstream. It is perhaps not the mainstreaming that we would have wanted, but it is a recalibration that is to be expected after any regulatory change of the magnitude that we have witnessed over the last 10 years since the Paris Agreement. I think it's a good thing, but we have to see the recalibration is necessary. So enough already. That's the rally cry right now. It's the flavor of the moment. Away with the red tape. And there's legitimacy to that, and we could all use some simplification. But I can tell you, and I tell under the psychology of being in the Environment Council today, that at our ministry, we're doing everything we can to make sure that we end up with simplification without deregulation. These words are too often spoken at the same time without seeing the difference. Deregulation in its extreme form is throwing away the achievements of the last 10 years. That's certainly not the solution for any of us. We need sustainability to stay at the forefront of our actions. No matter how much we talk about it, it's about what we do. And our future and the future of European competitiveness will depend on that capacity to do so. And then in these times of reality warp, of truth social, of overall disinformation, we must hold up the flag of science. That's why this summer, our ministry concluded a landmark framework convention with the University of Luxembourg under a climate nexus approach, just thinking things together. It's a 5-year initiative integrating research and making the readiness level of Luxembourg, improving the readiness on the technological side with things like hard-to-abate sectors, carbon capture, etc., increasing our institutional readiness, providing better climate services for our different economic sectors. How many of the companies that you know, that you work in, that you see every day, need better data on what's happening in order to assess better, in order to value better what they have, etc. So climate service is a huge issue. But also our social preparedness, our social readiness. Our education system is still sort of slumbering under what's happening out there. Our consumption models are not sustainable, and a very tricky thing to address from a policy-making perspective. But also participatory politics, so basically public engagement will become ever more important, and I think we as an Environment and Climate Ministry need to be drivers also of increasing that sort of implication of our citizens in the process of decision-making. So it's a framework convention that is integrating all these things to make us more prepared to face the music of accelerating climate change, of accelerating biodiversity loss, and accelerating also socioeconomic challenges. You know, we have to face the music and not be looking away because that's obviously the easiest choice. Sustainable finance is just as much informed by science, and that's what we like so much about it. It takes into account the forces of climate change, the demand for sustainable development, the calls for halting deforestation, the calls to halt biodiversity loss. And that's the greatest strength of sustainable finance. It is rooted in facts, in a reality that continues, that is testable, that is verifiable, foreseeable. It's a reality that cannot be ignored. So the sustainable path that we are commonly engaged in is the only true strategic choice. It is the only answer to maintain competitiveness at home, in Europe, and across the world. As nations pull ahead, others fall behind, it's because some have tapped into the next technology, the next product, foreboded by the transition, demanded by the public. Renewable energy is and will be, in the long run, plainly cheaper. Electric vehicles will and are today cleaner. Nature-based solutions are today and will be in the long run just better solutions. So the growth that we want and the growth that we all need, sustainable growth, it doesn't come from doing more of the same. It comes from shifting gears in a transition that's already there, crisp and clear, like the northern lights in a night sky. So, how do we meet this moment? Well, we meet it with the traits that make Luxembourg what it is. With discretion, maybe, but also with boldness, with agility, and with innovative thinking. And we're doing our part at the ministry, aiming for that boldness and innovation as we develop now currently our next new, what we call the International Climate Nexus investment strategy. So that's the international climate finance budget that we traditionally have since the Paris Agreement, and now we call it Climate Nexus investment strategy. And it will run from 26 to 2030, so it will be the next 5 years. And some of you might know that it's a budget that has increased by 45% making it a standalone budget of 320 million for that period on top of the official development assistance. So with that commitment and other countries stepping on the brakes, Luxembourg will increasingly take a leading position among the highest per capita donors of climate and biodiversity finance anywhere in the world. And the problem with this is that, well, it's an opportunity. With ambition comes a lot of responsibility. When you promise, you must deliver. And so we try to ensure that by making our projects of the highest quality and to have that documented, of measurable impact, and to look for the KPIs and the ways to monitor that, science-based, result-oriented. And many of those investments will go to instruments of sustainable finance and will benefit our financial center and the green transition of it here at home. So thank you all for the part you play in making Luxembourg what it is, one of the top financial centers in the world, leading the way on sustainable finance. I wish you fruitful discussions today and tomorrow, and would like to thank the entire Lux Flag family for organizing this wonderful event. The location, everything is just nice. And to the panelists and to the speakers, as I said, watch out for this crowd. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.